good in fishnets, let me tell you, okay? And then nobody can count the pages, but just turn it to the inside and use those 2 pages. Is that it? Or more questions?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, please. I love questions.
Okay. And please, everybody online and everybody here live, just raise your hand and fire away because I've got a list built up from the...
All right, I'll go really fast.
All right, here we go.
She has one back there. Oh, never mind.
I'd say you're lucky you have a job in journalism, okay? I would say I'm out here promoting it. If they recognize the paper or something like that. I would always use, I would have used an Ohio paper, but I went to grab one and it would have been like, we would have got banned on the internet by the stuff. I just grabbed one near the hotel and I'm like, I'm like, no, I won't, so I'll use my backup. So I use local papers, you can use tabloids or whatever. I've never had that happen, but it could, but I don't think it's a conversation point. It's not really, aha, caught you, It's like all right, So he's faking it. It's like, Randy, why did you say this? We were friends. Sorry,
one of the things that I've always admired about your magic is the way that you started with a...
Is this you or them?
This is me, actually.
Oh, wow.
With a base in stage illusion. And then, as part of that, there's a few questions that I had, some from online. One is, do you have any advice on how you incorporate comedy into your magic? Or is there an approach that you take? Do you add it later? Or do you think about a funny thing from the beginning? I'm not really if you give me a joke or a line to do, it's not going to work. I'm not that funny. So I have to just very much think about the situation and then it comes up. And most of the stuff that I do, I would say half the things that come out of my mouth that may be funny are in the moment because I think about oh, well, this is really stupid and this is why, and I'll say that. And then figuring out those little beats and stuff. And so I think what you want to do is it's very helpful to be, I love the term meta, sort of like meta-analysis or, look at things from a meta point, and you want to look at what you're doing and then step back. Magic is absurd, and we do a lot of stupid, silly things that we don't pay attention to, and a lot of great comedy comes from that. So, for me, finding out that there's going to be a funny point, watching, we've all seen magicians do things that are awkward and really funny comedy. You watch some some hip stuff or stuff like Tim and Eric and some of that other stuff. There's a lot of Mr. Show. There's a lot of this really awkward sort of tension, and magic is filled with that. And you just have to go, oh, good, this looks like the dumbest trick in the world. What can I do? I'll turn it into a 12-year-old trying to scare you. So look for those opportunities. Just look at where it's silly or absurd and find a way to call attention to that. And I realize I'm the most absurd person of all in the middle of this. So I think this is real. Awkward. Okay.
This is a great rapid fire. This is really good.
Next question. All right. So in that same line of questioning, Mr. Mayne.
Yeah, please.
Can you talk a little bit about how you apply stage principles to close up, and is it and about how you kind of take the scale and the largeness of illusion and kind of use your space really well?
The first magician I ever saw perform live, this is a true story, the first magician I ever saw do a real show, I may have seen somebody do 1 or 2 tricks on stage, the first magician I ever saw perform live was David Copperfield. And when you watch a David Copperfield special, he would do close-up and he would do stage. Now, he might just have 2 close-up tricks in his show, but he would do close-up. So I did not grow up with that line between close-up and platform and stage. For me, it was all just magic, and I thought a magician can do anything. Now, I understand from a practicality point of view and from a commercial point of view, it's important to understand what works there, but I grew up thinking that as a magician, I should just do whatever I wanted to do to entertain. And at the loss of not specializing and not being great in one particular area, but I think the upside was I was able to take stage technique and apply it close up. When I was at the Magic Castle, I actually asked, Rudy Kobe took it over for a week and said, where do I want to go perform? And I said, I actually want to go in the close-up parlor because I wanted to take sort of what I would do in a larger stage kind of setting and put it into that small room. And so I had, I did in the close-up room, I did a straitjacket escape, I had Bigfoot, I did my liquid nitrogen stuff, and I did a bunch of big magic in there because I wanted to put that into that space. So I think that don't see arbitrary categories. Think about it from the point of view of the audience. If you're a magician, they don't realize that, some of us are really specialists. And specialists is great, but, I think all my heroes have been generalists who can do a lot of different stuff. Does that help? Does that answer?
Yeah.
All right.
For the bowling ball thing, do you think it loses any of its impact not being like a solid heavy bowling ball?
I think it depends on the size of the room and where people are. I think whenever you can use a larger, heavier bowling ball, I think it's better because when he hits that stage, it's a good sound. If you're on one of those portable stages, that ball will sound great. Okay. In a closer room, it's not as good because you hear a little bit of that kind of that gymnasium kind of dodgeball sound. But in a larger, it's not so much. And so that's my backup one. Whenever I can, I'll use a full one. Or if I'm in a situation where I'm surrounded, I'll use that. Yeah.
Have you ever experimented using like sound effects with that? Or?
I don't know if I've ever used sound effects, and no. And the reason is that I've never been in a position where I have a sound man that I'm pretty sure, because I'm sure would fall and you could doink, and then you'd hear a minute later. And if I'm in that situation, I'll have a bowling ball. I got this because I was tired of when I lectured. Going from, Goodwill shop to Goodwill shop, looking for big bowling balls, and when I found a lightweight one that I was a child one crying. Kidding. Why is he sobbing? So that's my answer to your question. And a special dark magic lecture. Yes, sir.
One of the things that was cool was the way when you were the one thing that was cool about your magic was when you were doing the trick where the queen was turned up and sorry,
like A wave or whatever. I called it that, but then I realized that was like too close to B wave, and I did not I have so much respect for Max Maven and Eugene Berger. I did not want to be like, hey guys, I'm like this is another way. So yeah.
In that effect, it was really cool the way that you drew in somebody else from the audience for two reasons. One being that it created a storyline that you had this conflict and then it kind of resolved or whatever, but also that the trick became rather than being in a sphere that's 2 feet wide, it became this trick that lived in this sphere 20 feet wide, which was really cool. It just made it huge.
And I'll tell you something that often gets misunderstood a lot in magic, and I'm a guy still trying to learn this. I'm still analyzing, and some of the things I say, I'll go back and I'll go you know what, maybe I didn't quite have as clear of an idea as I thought, but